Official.
All right, we're on.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our meeting tonight. It's April Fool's Day, but I promise not to make any jokes that are about sensitive things. Um, the main issue tonight, or the main focus, is discussing still the Jackson Park school conversion. We have Jamie Stottlemyre, who is the Director of Operations and Transportation of the Ferndale School District, with us this evening. Also, Tom Van de Grind, who is an architect from GMB, is here. I don't know if he knows that he's going to be put on the spot, but he's here. So hopefully we can get some questions answered. And Marion should be here at some point. Um, so
I
I
just, she's here, I think. I just
Yeah,
accepted.
she popped on.
Yes.
Great. Awesome. Um, Another thing that since the last meeting, we are trying to also offer the meeting on a YouTube format. So I uploaded the February and the March meetings onto a YouTube channel, just in case it's easier for people to view there. And I'm just saying this now in case anybody has doesn't want to be seen on YouTube or have that be a public thing. Just know that this may end up on YouTube. So if that makes any sense at all, but it just seemed like instead of trying to dig through the Facebook group, if we could direct people to an easier link, it might work. If it doesn't, we can always close it. But I would like to turn everything over to Jamie.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm hoping for some YouTube fame tonight. Let me start sharing my screen. So last time we had a discussion, we talked about the design of our new elementary school that's going to be located where CASA sits now. We talked about the Jackson Park property and how we have a tentative agreement with the city to purchase that land, how there's a deed restriction, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But we were asked to people are very visual and they want to see what this potentially looks like building the school on our property that we own currently, and then what it would look like differently if we were to own the whole parcel and be able to build on the whole parcel. Now, I'm going to share my screen, but as people who had asked us to present had stated, this is highly, I'm going to qualify this, put asterisks all the way around it. This is very, very premature. We're not to the point yet where we're actually designing the building, so we know the exact shape. We don't know exactly where the building's going to sit, but we wanted to give you something that is graphical so you can see kind of what we're talking about here and the difference between the two. So GMB put this together, and here I'll share my screen if this works, hopefully. I'm hoping everybody can see my screen. Okay. And let me know if anybody, just jump in if you have any questions, but I'll open it up at the end for questions. So what we're looking at here on the left is our property that we currently own. The red border around that is the property setbacks that are required by code. So the architect has drawn those on there so you can see that perimeter that we are not allowed to build in. We have a building that is representative of what our 90,000 square foot building would be as far as a one-story 90,000 square foot building. That's what size it's going to be on that piece of property. What they've done early on is to come up with a potential layout. And once again, we're not to the point where we're actually designing the shape of the building. So this isn't going to what it's probably going to look like that fits on our current property. Because the question is could we build on our current property? And the answer is yes, we do have a design that would fit there. So there's three things I want to talk about. The first is obviously you can see how cramped the site would be. We'd have the parking lot is in the northeast corner of the current property. So in this scenario, we would have to knock down CASA, clear that all out, and then start building this building. We do have plans for two separate playground areas that are going to be age appropriate. So what we've shown here diagrammatically is the playgrounds being crammed together in the northwest corner of the property, as that would be the only really open area that we could conceivably put these in, knowing how big the parking lot has to be and et cetera. What we have on the right-hand side is the potential, if we were to get our deed restriction lifted and we were able to utilize the full 11 acres, as you can see, it's much more spread out. We are better able to keep our distance from the tree line on the west side of the property. We have what we consider a much more park-like experience. We want to upgrade that entire site, and we want it to be nice. We want it to be spread out with lots of green space and room to roam. And we want to be able to create a nice atmosphere. So that was the goal there. The second benefit of having the entire property is basically having enough site available to hopefully keep as many of the cars and the traffic flow off of the streets and on our property, as far as having a longer bus loop, potentially having more parking on site. You know, the goal is, and we will be doing traffic studies and stuff, is to try and keep all of the traffic off of the streets as best as possible. And then the third thing is, and we've heard this from everybody, is save the trees. And I mean, that was top of mind when we started looking at this site. But as you can see, with the entire site, we have more flexibility to move things around, to be able to maintain as many of those the trees as possible, and to maintain what we consider to be a park-like experience. We want this to be a beautiful site. So that is it. Tom, is there anything you want to add that I didn't cover on this very?
No, I think you hit it. We've talked about it earlier, but I think you hit it right on the head, Jamie.
Okay, so this is, like I said, we're still very preliminarily coming up with the design and the location, but I did want to mention, you know, and I know Dr. Bazzi had mentioned this last time we talked. You know, the voters approved us to build a new elementary school, and the new elementary has to go on that site. So if we look at the picture on the left, if we just use our property, the building will still fit. We'll still be building it. But it does unfortunately go right up to your ball field, the current ball field outfield, where the outfield meets the infield. So that ball field would essentially be rendered useless, which we're not trying to do, but that is one of the consequences of that design, where we would have to build up to our setback lines in order to fit that size building on that site. But typically, when you look at design, and I know you might have questions for Tom on this, but a 10-acre site is a good size site for an elementary school. 11 acres is fantastic. It'll feel like a wonderful place. It'll have enough room for the kids to roam. It'll have very nice, well done playgrounds. It'll have sidewalks that run around the building, so the public can use them as a walking loop. We're going to have a lot of amenities on this site for people to use, and I think it's going to be a great addition to the neighborhood. With that, I had somebody asked me about how the deed restriction is going, as far as lifting the deed restriction. We did get in a batch of ballots, which we held a public bid opening on March 23rd at 5 o'clock, and we did video tape that. From that first public opening, we had 265 yes votes and 120 no votes. Yes means yes, we are able to lift our deed restriction and build on the entire property. No means no, stay on your own property, basically. That the deed restriction would stay in place, and it would only allow residential housing to go up at the Jackson Park location. So right now it is looking favorable. We did send a second set of ballots out to all residents in the neighborhood who we did not receive a vote from. From the 380 or so that we did receive, we took those off of the list, and then we mailed out a second batch to everybody else. If we continue to not get votes back in, then we will start going door to door to the addresses who haven't responded, so that we could try and get some kind of a vote from those residents to see which way they're going. But with that, I don't know if you want me to leave this up or just want me to take it back down, and I'll open it up for questions.
Just want to say that 606 is the magic number on the website that we need to get to, right?
Well, I think we mailed it to 1200. You could be right. I always thought it was 601, but maybe my numbers are a little off.
I thought it was 601 too, but then I
Oh.
did see what Jeffrey said. There was a 612 number for some reason. Maybe there was a few homes that weren't part of the 1200 that,
On the website right now, it says 606. Either way, it's over 600, so there's still quite a ways that we need to get there to figure out what's happening. Are there? So right now, there are no organized as far as like get out the vote situations.
No, we're waiting to get that second batch of ballots back before we start pounding the pavement. And we do have a lot of volunteers that are ready to do that. Hang on a sec. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I can bring that back up if people want it later, but I can't see everybody. So I'm going to get back to normal here. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. And you know, Bill Good, our director of marketing, actually, even though he's working remotely from our district, his family just moved out to Colorado today, actually. So I'm not exactly sure where our ballots are because he was busy trying to get packed up and move. So he was receiving them. So I'll have to find out where we're at with that. But the other mailing was supposed to go out late last week. There has to be some questions.
I have.
I couldn't have covered everything.
Looks like Sylvia, and then we'll go to Judy.
I know this is only kindergarten, first and second grade, and you seem to be doing a lot and need a lot of room for all those hundreds of children. But you were talking about amenities. What kind of amenities are you going to have for the people who want to walk around the sidewalk and walk around the school to exercise?
Well, like I said, we will have walkways around the entire building. We are planning 2 separate playgrounds, which the public will have access to. So we're going to have most likely a kindergarten and then a little older, you know, playground. We're not exactly sure where they're going right now, but they will be very substantial and will feature some very, you know, nice features for the children in the area. We also, you know, there may be a possibility for some type of a field, like a small soccer field or something. But like I said, we're not to that point yet to do we have to get the building pinned down. But the first thing is really we have to figure out if we can get this deed restriction lifted or not, because that is, you know, kind of putting the design process on hold for a little bit until we can figure that out. Because we don't want to go down one pathway only to find out that, you know, we can't use the full site and we have to change the design. So we're kind of holding until we get this resolved.
Okay.
Judy?
Yeah, I was wondering if anyone can address, there was a lot of posts on Nextdoor and Facebook about the Save the Trees and stuff, but I don't know what people think will happen if it doesn't pass. What will they do with that land? Who's responsible for it, who owns it, who upkeeps it? Because there were already suggestions about what people wanted to do with it, but who knows if that's even a possibility. So if we could get that out there, maybe people would realize it's still going to remain a not usable ball field or whatever.
Yeah, our purchase agreement with Oak Park is contingent on the deed restriction being lifted because, you know, that land doesn't have any value to us unless we can expand out and utilize that. So it would still remain as the potential for single family homes. I mean, obviously that would be up to the city to decide what the future is of that space, but at that point. You know, the other thing I was going to mention on amenities, though, we are going to have, you know, a brand new cafeteria, a brand new gymnasium. So there will be outside groups that will be able to utilize those spaces when we talk about amenities too. I didn't want to forget about what's going on inside the building also. So there'll be some nice public gathering spaces available.
Sam?
I have a few questions. The first is, you cannot speak for the future. This was brought up last month as well. As well-intentioned as the present administration may be, we don't know what the future will hold. And we can readily foresee a time where perhaps the population ages and the school is not needed to that extent, and there's a cash need, and the school district sells the property. Is there, and I had suggested that part of the sale agreement between the city and the school district includes the caveat that the land can only be used as a school or as green space and cannot be developed. Has that been looked into at all? Is that a legitimate possibility? Or are we at the mercy of the unknowable future?
Are you, so that is a question for the attorney. Our attorneys say no, that you cannot, we're not writing that in. I mean, if you look at our current lower elementary, that building's been there for 100 years. This is going to be our brand new flagship building. The goal is to design a 100-year building, and that's the plan. I would see no scenario in my mind where this building would ever be sold. And the size of the site and the size of the building, there's only one building ever going on this site. So it's this elementary school. We have, like you said, there's no crystal ball. I can't predict the future, but we're using bond money. It's public money. It's public land that we own. They're not going to start writing in all these caveats on land that we own. As far as the Jackson Park property, that's, you know, that we're trying to get the deed restriction lifted and get a clean title on that so we can build on it. I don't know, you know, how else we would seal that up forever and ever, other than we're putting $30 million into a building. There's no chance that this is going to be sold anytime in my lifetime.
Well, that's the concern. We're talking about perpetuity. Not the lifetime of those of us on this call, but the extended future. And why can't that extended future be guaranteed in some manner? If a deed restriction has existed up until now, that's being fought, and that was placed on that land 75 years ago, why doesn't that danger loom for a subsequent generation?
I can't really answer that.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
What are the little white dots on the map? And where is the bus loop?
Oh, the trees. Okay, let me pull the map back up. But Sam, I'm not skirting around your. I honestly, that's a question for the lawyers. And I know they said that we own the land. There's not. I mean, it's going to be built as a building. We're planning a 100-year elementary school here. You know, that's that's legal speak that I'm not here to talk to about that. I mean, if you have a question, you can email us and we can forward it to our attorney to get their take on it if you want to do that.
Sounds
But
good.
they're working out all the legal details as far as how the land is titled and how all the the legal caveats are as far as the land use and what's going to be built on it. I don't know, Tom, anything you can add to that, or is it?
Yeah, I don't, I can't really, as a designer, I don't have any legal advice to you, but I'm sure that's, you know, you own 7 of the acres right now. They're not going to back up on rights to those 7 acres. I would sure that your lawyers are probably thinking that.
Right. And this is public money and a 30-year bond. So this stuff's locked up. I mean,
yeah, there's a lot of legal stuff with the schools.
Stuff that we can't just whip up a $30 million building and then get rid of it. I mean, we're paying on this bond for 30 years. So let me see if I can pull that back up again. Hang on just a sec. I gotta get over to my email here.
And we'll go to Peter and Charlie after that.
Okay. So the question was, the white dots are just trees shown.
Oh.
And then the bus loop, you can see the tiny little yellow rectangles there on the east side of the building. That is showing a potential bus loop. But once again, they don't have this thing sized up yet. They're just showing, where the buses would most likely, where the loop would be placed. So
This is the most exciting thing that's happened in Oak Park, I think, in 10 years that I've been looking.
Peter, do you want to go ahead with your question?
I voted for lifting the deed restriction and wrote on it, "Save the trees." I mean, I wish we could get a stronger commitment, say, no, the trees will not be cut down. I mean, to get some public official to commit to it in case they do, we can say, that's not what you told us, as opposed to making us a little nervous about the fact that some, well, stuff happens during construction, which is true. But that's not even my main point. Right now, because of the Sherman Pocket Park, Roanoke has turned into a thoroughway, that sometimes I can't even get out of my driveway at rush hour. There'll be as many, and I've counted 10 cars lined up at the stop street at Oak Park Boulevard. And with the anticipation of putting hundreds and hundreds of preschoolers into one location, I'm anticipating that it's going to be a nightmare here as well, to say nothing about the construction time when there's going to be construction vehicles rattling down Rosewood and Oak Park and Roanoke. So I don't think there's anything I can do about it. But it's just this is not going to be all just sweet dreams.
No, I mean, it's, there's a reality to it. We are building a building, but we have committed that during each step of the phases here, we are going to, I mean, we're going to keep in touch with you. We're not hiding. I mean, we'll come back once we get the design finalized and get a site plan, and we have, the shape of the building and how it's going to be positioned on the site. And we'll share that again and get feedback and take, public comment on that. But I mean, other than I can assure you, and Tom can vouch too, we have a commitment from the team to try and keep it a park-like setting and save as many trees as possible. We know,
I believe you.
Over and over from everyone, that's one of the main concerns is the trees. And
yeah,
I mean,
well, we know you people, and we generally believe it, but when it comes to construction, but anyway, the idea though of massive traffic jams and construction nightmare, I don't know. I don't think there's anything that can be done about that. But every day, what's it going to be like at 3 o'clock on Roanoke and on Rosewood?
I mean, Tom, you guys are going to be doing traffic studies, right? So you'll have some idea. And as far as the sizing of the parking lots and the loops and the parent loops and all, I mean, all that's going to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess the important thing to understand in context, like Jamie was saying, is we're going to put a building there, and we're going to bring construction. You're right. It's going to come. That traffic's going to be there for 12 months. And the kids are eventually going to be coming by bus and or parents. The deed restriction lets us actually have more opportunity to spread that stuff out, potentially have a longer bus loop off of the roads, potentially a little more off-street parking. So all of those things that may be concerns actually get less impact to the neighborhood if we have the deed restriction, so we can use more of that property for spreading ourselves out, basically.
And if we own the property, that'll give us a better laydown area for the construction companies so they can
Yeah.
get cement trucks off the road and into
Yeah.
the city and try and minimize the amount of impact to the residents around that area.
Yeah.
Oh, but on a daily basis is a concern I have. I mean, as it is, as someone, when you think about property values, whether someone is in a cul-de-sac or on a main street, and if there's similar houses in the same area, which one has more value? The one on the busy street or the one in the cul-de-sac? So this is going to actually impact the value of our home negatively. And also, it's a nuisance. As it is, there's so much traffic on Roanoke that that putting on the Sherman Park, which I supported, has really changed the character of our street and of our home. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to be a big bring down.
No,
But that's the way it's going to be. I voted for it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll go Charlie and then to Sam.
And Jeffrey, I haven't been watching the chat. Is there any questions coming off the chat too?
Yeah, I'm trying to keep an eye on that too.
Okay. Sorry.
More or less.
Hi, everybody. Also, hi, Jamie. Yeah, I don't know if everyone knows this, but Jamie and I stood outside in a cold March 2020, right before
Yes.
COVID happened, for like 11 hours because
Straight.
he was holding the picket sign for passing the FPS bond, which we're now talking about. And we were talking about helping get people elected. So anyways, I hope you've been using that sauna that you and I talked about.
Oh, yeah,
But
definitely.
cool. And also Peter, cool guy Fox mask, neat background. I wanted to just kind of add a couple of points to what I've been hearing folks say, just as food for thought. For Sam, what you said about, in 100 years or in 30 years, we want to make sure that this thing is preserved. And I think Jamie and Thomas or the other person that we're talking did a great job of explaining that, it's public money, it's public land, it's a school, so it's a big building that costs a lot of money. So there's those sorts of barriers to privatization, if you will. But then also in 100 years, what will schools look like? In 100 years, what will Oak Park look like? In 100 years, do we want to have prescribed some sort of solution that is made in 2020 for something that in 2080 will be a different type of world? I mean, we're seeing that when talking to Huntington Woods folks about Rackham. In 1926, Rackham Golf Course was told to be this, that, and the other, and the community has different desires for it, all about public use, but because of deed restrictions, it can only be one thing, golf. And there's not a lot of people that play golf anymore, and there's fewer people that play golf. So just using that kind of non sequitur example for that thought exercise. And then also just personally, as someone who's looking to move to East Oak Park because I love the architecture and the community, I don't know if this is backed by data, but me and Katie want to live by a school. So we would love to live down the street from the school, even if it's busy for 20 or 30 minutes at pick up and drop off at 8 a.m. or 3 p.m. because we feel like that's more valuable. So we're willing to pay more for anybody that wants to sell their house because they don't like the traffic for 30 minutes a day. So just that's all for me.
I'm the architect. I designed schools for about 35 years. And I'm not a realtor, but I know, and there are people who would rather not live by a school. There's no doubt. And in that case, it's hard they never can convince you that it's great to have that school in your backyard. But historically, of all the schools, I've worked on hundreds of them, property values typically do go up next to a new school. So that is, we could get some realtors to give you some of that data, but that typically is the case.
I just want Charlie to be safe while he's zooming and driving, because last time I did that, I got pulled over by the cops and got a ticket. So, just saying, Charlie, be careful.
I'm in the driveway, so yeah.
Okay, good. Okay.
Sam?
Charlie, your example of the golf course in Huntington Woods is a prime example of my point. The owners of the golf course are the city of Detroit, and the city of Detroit wanted to sell that asset to raise money prior to the bankruptcy. And the fuss was the residents of Huntington Woods realized that this sale was impending and that there had been a deed restriction that maintained that property as a golf course, as that's the way it was donated, as that's the way the Rackham people donated the land. And consequently, the deed restriction held forth and the land was not sold by the city of Detroit, who needed the money, to developers. So, Charlie, while you were presenting that example from the opposite point of view, it is in fact makes my case. There is a danger that there will be a need for funds in 30, 50 years. These things happen, populations change, populations age, needs change, assets are needed, land is sold. In the case of the golf course, the deed restriction saved that land for all the residents of Huntington Woods to keep it as green space. Madam Mayor, I brought this topic up last month. Do you have any thoughts on it? Because this is in fact the legacy that we are leaving for the future generations. Are we protecting this land for the future, or are we leaving it totally in the hands of the school district to do what they will as they see fit down the road?
I don't know if we have any idea what school will look like in 100 years. During COVID, we realized that school could be at home. There will be another use, I'm sure, down the road. I'm not as worried as you are about bad things coming, on that property. I'm thrilled with the school, the state-of-the-art school. It's going to bring new people to the city of Oak Park. It's going to bring young families. It is such a huge positive. The Jackson School was sold and is now a beautiful project with homes, and it was a plus to the neighborhood. And they saved that school building itself. I'm just not as worried about that particular issue, Sam.
I'm going to say there was a question in the chat from Mark asking about being kept up to date on the progress of the vote. Is the best place for that still ferndaleschools.org/deed?
Yeah, the website, Bill keeps that updated.
And I'm assuming it will be all over Facebook too. It seems to
Yeah,
travel.
we'll announce to the group when we're ready to have another public opening, when we get another batch of ballots. When it's worthwhile to sit down at night, we'll do it again.
I'll say probably if you needed volunteers, you could put out a cry and there probably would be people willing to
Appreciate that.
help. Charlie, did you have another question?
Well, I just wanted to kind of rebut what Sam said, but don't need to get into a tiff. But Sam, I hear your point. If I could just, there's a parable, and I forget what exactly it's called, but I'm sure a lot of you have heard it. It's like the parable of the boy in the mountain. And there's a boy that, right, he lives in this small town in Greece or something, and he is sickly as a child. And so his parents say, well, you should climb up the mountain to like get healthy and, the fresh air. So he climbs up the mountain every day and climbs back down. And they say, this is good for our boy. He's getting healthy. And the doctor says, we'll see. And then he climbs up the mountain one day and he breaks his leg. And everyone says, oh, this is terrible. And the doctor says, we'll see. And then the army comes in and says, we need to take all the young men to go off to war. But this boy with the broken leg misses having to be drafted into the army. And they say, this is a great thing. And the doctor says, we'll see. So I think Sam citing one argument then doesn't discount the other, right? Because in 2006, Detroit was going to do something. In 2020, people want something. So, keeping the future open seems like a positive concept.
Come on, Charlie, you just made that parable up on the spur of the moment.
It worked though, right, Peter?
I missed the point.
We'll see, Charlie.
We'll see. Right. Yeah, we'll see.
Sam, you're muted.
While Sam's trying to unmute himself, I would like to
There
see
it goes.
a quick survey by show of hands, let's say, who would object to that school having a whole 10 acres or 11 acres so they could do the job right? Who is, let's say, objecting to it, or who wants to say who is for it? let's
Well,
go.
there are
to-
120 people who've already voted against it. Maybe none of them on this call, but
I don't,
100.
I just don't think there's anybody in this call. I just don't see why anybody would object to it. Having a great school with great parking lot access makes no sense. Anyways, I'm in favor, and I'll put my little reaction. I'll put thumbs up. So whoever else, I just want to see, there's a lot of thumbs up. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Yeah, I mean, I think mostly this group is giving me a thumbs up. Well, yeah. Anyways,
2 thumbs up over here.
yeah,
Adam Spencer, he's 2 thumbs up.
Does anyone have any further questions for Jamie tonight?
Yeah, why are we waiting to do the door knocking? I mean, you can't get started with design until you've got clear sailing, and you're on the clock, and it's ticking. What's the wait for door knocking?
Well, I mean, it's getting volunteers to donate some Saturdays and trying to muster up all of that manpower and effort. We're just waiting to see if people will send the mailer back first. We're going to give them a week or two, and then we will start.
Madam Mayor, where does voting happen with CASA gone during the construction?
You're
Aaron, you're muted.
muted. CASA, if we get the entire parcel, the goal is to keep CASA intact while we're building the new elementary school. And then that last summer of 2023, we would knock CASA down and put the parking lot, finish the parking lot and playground up on that north side. So if we get the whole site, we're really trying hard to keep CASA intact. So that's the answer.
I'd like to make a comment. I've been thinking about the space where the school would be, and if you had to share Jackson Park, I'm concerned about securing your perimeters, like to have an actual secure area for the children, that there's boundaries. And if you have this public park, I don't know, I feel like the news today is just really disheartening about people entering schools and that sort of thing. So I feel like if you have that whole corner lot, you're able to secure it a lot more safely for the student body than if you had to worry about boundaries. I mean, because that whole tree line comes in along one side of the school where the playground would be. And I feel as though that's another point that you could make with the community, that securing the school could be a lot more fruitful if you actually are within the road boundaries versus land boundaries.
Yeah, that's correct. Because I mean, with use of fencing and stuff, we would have, we would maintain the entire site. But the other thing is just flexibility. As an example, the kindergarten classrooms, we want those close to the parking lot because we know that the parents are going to want to drop their kindergartners off and be with them at the last moment. So, it'll provide us that type of flexibility of having the playgrounds right next to the classroom wing. So when they exit, they're exiting right out into a playground, so that the playgrounds aren't far away from the building. Like in the one picture, up in the northwest corner, because that's the only site or the spot they'll fit on. So it's going to give us a lot more flexibility in designing this building the way that it needs to be designed to make it suitable. The other thing we're looking at is outdoor classrooms. I mean, even with COVID, that's going to be a big thing now, and how we can incorporate that. Tom, do you want to, I mean, you're the design expert. You've been doing schools forever. Anything you want to add to that?
I think you're touching on the way, exactly how it would work. We'd love to develop all kinds of outdoor spaces there, and we'll do it on the property you own, and it just lets us be more contiguous with that other piece with a ball diamond to clean that up and make that all park-like space.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously need that deed restriction because we cannot touch property with bond money that the school doesn't own. So it has to be that way. And I would say too, the security thing that you brought up, whoever that was, that is positive to have, to not have. I mean, what you said is exactly right. Security, a lot of it during the day when kids are there is knowing that somebody is maybe in an area they shouldn't be in. So if it's public park, they can be there and you can't tell them to leave. And so they could walk right up behind the building all the way along that side. It makes it harder for security, not undoable, but makes it harder. And then if it's all open, then you know for the school during the day that's student activity. You can see if someone's there that shouldn't be there. All kinds of our security advisors tell us that that's the safest way to protect the kids. Then after school, it's open to the public. So you're right on with the security piece of it.
So I would think that bringing those points up would be another plus for you, garnering votes for your deed lifting. I think that, there's more to it that isn't being talked about. And if, that was something that was brought up, I'm sure you would be able to get some more votes. But I don't see any information out there really about making sure you get your ballot in now, because everybody may think it's over, or they may have tossed it out. They didn't know what it was regarding. I think there's a lot of confusion. There's nothing really concrete out there that's getting out to the masses.
Sandra,
Yeah, two things. Number one, have the owners of the rental homes been contacted for the vote? And I don't know what the percentage of rental homes is in this area. Miriam might know. And also, oh shoot, what was my second point? Senior moment here. I was just wondering about if you got the owners of the rentals. Because like there's lovely people next door to me with a 2-year-old who's going to be going to school, but they're renting this lovely home next door to me.
Jamie, you're muted.
And that happens. We got a list of all the addresses from the Oakland County Register of Deeds. So if they were on that plat, then they were mailed, some information.
Okay, so the owners of the rentals have been contacted.
Correct.
And hopefully they wouldn't have any objection.
Right. I guess if you know renters, ask them to ask their landlords. Right.
Yeah.
Miriam, do you know the percentage of rental homes in this part of the city?
Not specifically to for one section or another, but if you text me or email me, I'll get the information for you.
Okay, just a ballpark. I was just,
Sure.
it doesn't have to be the exact number. I was just curious. I only know of a couple.
Right. Generally in the city, I think it went up after that horrible 2008 crash, economic crash. But when we get foreclosures and that kind of thing, they are being sold to a company that we have worked with for 3 years now that is renovating the home, and it can only be sold, it can't be rented. So what we're trying to do is edge back that number of rentals, because if you're an owner, it's better for more owners are better for the community.
Well, the one rental house that I know about, the husband died, then the father died. The daughter sold the house to somebody who renovated it and then rented it. So, wasn't a foreclosure or bankruptcy or anything. It was just, the daughter had to sell the house and this person had the money and they did a beautiful job renovating it. And there's lovely people living next door to me.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he takes care of the property, you would not know he's a renter.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That's what we want, is more of the renters that want to then buy and become permanent residents in the community.
I sure hope so.
Mm-hmm.
Looking for any hands or questions for Jamie. And I guess if questions do arise, we can always take them and try to get them to you and get answers back.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'd like to switch, I guess, to our second portion of the evening if we can. But if we still need to address questions, that's fine, I guess. So we're happy to have Mayor Miriam McClellan here with us tonight. And we're going to open up the floor to questions for the mayor, if anyone has them.
I think we talked last month, but we have a resident in the city of Oak Park who works for Henry Ford Hospital and was instrumental in getting all of the COVID shots to Detroit. And she was lobbying Henry Ford Hospital to include Oak Park in that. And she was successful. And we are, I think, in our third or fourth week of having Henry Ford Hospital providing vaccine from 9 to 12 in the morning on Wednesday. And you can register for that by going to the Henry Ford Hospital website. And we are thrilled and delighted and hope it expands because we can take as many people as we can and as fast as we can to get this dreaded thing under control. It's taken the health away from too many of us and the lives away from way too many of us. And we want to get you vaccinated. And I'm thrilled that we're able to do that locally for the people who feel comfortable coming to the rec center and getting an injection. We're starting budget meetings the week of April 19th. That's always fun. I'll let you know what results come from that. We have a new library director starting on the 15th of April, and I'm thrilled about that. Our librarian had to leave because of family illness, and we hired a bright, young, competent, energetic librarian, and I'm looking forward to what she will bring to our library.
Do we know if Pat got vaccinated, Marion?
Say it again.
Do we know if Pat got vaccinated?
I don't
Yes, she did.
know.
She did. I saw her.
Oh.
I saw her
Oh.
about a week or so ago. She said she did.
Oh,
Good.
Yay.
good. Every single person that we can get vaccinated is a blessing. And I think we are now on 50 or over can get qualify to get a vaccine. And if you're 18 or over with a health condition, you qualify to get a vaccine. And I want to get to where anybody can get it anytime, but they're working as fast as they can. And it's a race against this microscopic little germ that's wreaking havoc on everything. And so
I know I registered through Oakland County Health in January, and I actually got my first shot on Tuesday, which without claiming anything or without having any pre-existing things, and it was super efficient, super easy.
And where was that again?
I went to the location in Madison Heights, so it was like 13 John R. It was a Union Hall.
Okay.
Easy peasy. Adam, do you have a question?
I do. I would just want to let people know on the vaccine thing. I've noticed a lot of my friends have been able to call places that are taking walk-ins. So it's a day-to-day sort of a thing. But like I went to one and it was just out of the blue, an Arab and Chaldean center in Detroit. And I called them up and they're like, yeah, we've got things, we can take you in tomorrow. Please come down. And so I was able to get my vaccination without having health issues either. So that's something to think about, that maybe if somebody has some numbers to these places to kind of call on a day-to-day basis.
If anybody has those sources, if you could put it in the chat and we can get it out to everybody. If you walked in somewhere and got lucky, we'll share it with everyone that we can.
I can put some info in the chat too.
Great.
Oh, Miriam?
Yes.
People were talking about publicity, about not having heard anything about this issue with Jackson and the property. Is there anything you can do when you put out your monthly newsletter?
Yes. Yep. We can add that in there. I'm 120% for this blessing to the city of Oak Park. I know that the people in the city are well-intentioned and the people in the school district are well-intentioned. And what happened to the property at Jackson School, they wanted to originally, they were considering just housing, and putting the school down was too expensive. And then they thought, well, why don't we make it like an art place where an artist could take a room and everything? Well, the school was so old that you needed a new boiler and you needed to make it ADA compliant, and it was too expensive. And so there was a nonprofit that was willing to put up mid and low income housing, which is all what we're all in, face it, we're in mid and low income housing. And it exceeded my expectations. I'm 136% for this project and grateful that it's happening. Anytime you can take a rundown building and renovate it and bring new life to it, that's what economic development is all about. That makes our economic development department jump up and clap. So yes, we'll try and get that into charliecavellmeyer.com registering. Thank you, Charlie.
Yeah, there's a lot of, Charlie's been putting a lot of information in the chat if people are
Good.
looking.
And then Jeffrey, I wonder if you could email, I don't know what happens to the chat after we go off of it. Can it be
saved? Dawn gets it.
okay?
Actually,
I get it, but I don't get it.
I think anyone can save the chat history. If you click on the 3 dots in the chat window, it will save, and once the meeting's over, it will open up as a text file on your computer. I don't know what happens.
Say that again. The
So,
3 little dots.
The 3 little dots, like when you click on it, mine just says save chat. That's the option I have. So if you click on that, once the meeting is over, it should open up as a text file. I don't know what happens on a phone. I've never done that there, but I know on a computer that happens.
I'm on a phone, so if Jeffrey, if you would email me whatever you get, or text it to me is fine, and I'll make sure it goes into the mayor's message. It won't go out till the 15th, but there are always people that don't hear the message. It's like you say it, and you say it again, and you say it on different platforms. And it always amazes me when I go door to door that there are people who just didn't get it. They weren't working when it happened. And so you can't say it too many times.
I agree. 100%. So Marion, if you were to go to the bottom of your screen, there's icons down there. One of them says chat.
Let me see.
You tap on that.
Oh, yes.
And then,
now I see it.
And now you see file and then the 3 little dots.
Let me see. I see the chat. Would it be the top of the chat or the bottom of the chat?
Bottom.
Bottom.
It's above the little blue chat.
It says send to everyone at the bottom.
Right. Look to the right. There's a file key and then there's 3 dots.
Let's see. I've got a little arrow. You and I will talk after.
Okay. I just thought.
But thanks for the tutorial. Heaven knows we all need it.
Well,
Mark, I would say Mark has a question, maybe.
Yeah, this is Pat. I'm an old question. It's for Jamie. I put in the chat. I talked to some people and they didn't vote because they got the stuff from the school and they just thought it was junk mail.
Right.
Well, like Marion said,
the mail out has been. I know it was disappointingly low, the total number. So you may be wasting your time on the second mailing.
Well, yeah, but like if they threw it out and they know now, we're sending them a second one, so hopefully they'll take it a little more serious this time. But no, I don't disagree with you, but we're just trying to do one last push on mailings before we get everybody out on the streets.
No, it did come first class, so it didn't come with junk mail. It had a real stamp on it.
Right, but some of the
came
people
first
I
class.
talked to said they just, I didn't see it. It was just in the pile that it didn't look like something they would be expecting, like a regular bill or something like that. So,
I'm a when in doubt, pitch it out kind of person, so I can relate.
Oh, I open everything. You never know what's in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
People always want to send you free address labels, even if they're selling stuff that you don't want to buy. I always look to see if there's address labels or a memo pad.
Can I jump in for a sec?
Sure thing,
So,
Sandy.
I just didn't want to jump off top, but I have to anyway. Okay, we've been talking about Ford Field. We've been talking about the Oak Park Community Center. I also went to Oakland County. I registered myself a long time ago, and I already got my second shot. The problem is, Ford Field, you cannot get in to get an appointment right now. My wife's been calling for about 3 weeks. You cannot get in. You cannot just walk in. There are no appointments. I also went in and went on the one for Oak Park. There are 0 appointments available for appointments right now to get vaccinated. How is anybody getting in? You can't get in right now. I just got on there about 2 minutes ago. Nothing's available.
Right. Now, I think you have to be persistent. When we got our shots, 2 weeks later, we got the one from Oakland County that said, we can get you, we can get you in now. Sometimes the window closes, they use all of it that they have. You have to be dogged and persistent and keep trying the same sources. And I know it's frustrating, but we need everybody safe. It's worth the effort.
I know they had some last minute appointments the other day at Ford Field. It was a shout out to people like there were 16 or older. So sometimes you have to be at the right place at the right time or be listening for that. So
the problem is with that is my wife is working from home. She saw the advertisement for Henry Ford and for Ford Field. The minute she heard, she called. There were no appointments. I'm being serious. They're advertising on TV. Channel 7 was, and I just re-registered her again. There's nothing available. She's been doing this now for 2 weeks.
Sandy, look at the chat. There's a bunch of ideas.
I don't know. I just went there.
What's that?
I just went there. I went to the one that's
no. In the chat, there's some other ideas. So just figure that every day you're going to check 3 places, and there's more options that are listed in the chat section. And if you can't get the chat, I'll email it to you when I get it.
Channel 4 also says there's something about savemyspace.com.
Already on it, already been there, already done that.
There was something on
Facebook.
Sandy, on Facebook a couple times I've seen people say that, like, through CVS, you have to not say you're in Michigan at first, select a different state, and then somehow there are like spots open that show in Michigan later on. I didn't go through this, but I've read it at least 3 times. I don't know if that's helpful. I know there are groups on Facebook. I was in one for a second, but then after, like, the day I joined it was when Oakland County emailed me, so I ended up leaving it. Like, I'm done with this because it's stressful, and I apologize for anyone trying to get this right now because it's really, it's great to see people wanting to get it.
Is Charlie still with us? Charlie?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I see. Well, what's going on with that? Like I've had at least, I mean, I've had both shots through Oakland County, but I've had 3 other invitations. So I'm getting 4 and Sandy's getting 0. What's the algorithms there or what the randomness of it?
Yeah, and I don't want to, Jeffrey, is it okay if I take a few minutes to talk about this? Okay. I didn't want to ruin the flow if the mayor had other stuff to say or you wanted to get into something else. So first, Sandy, to what you're saying about there's no place to get in, that's like for society and our community as a whole and the goal of getting to 70% vaccination and the so-called herd immunity, that is a very good thing, right? Because Ford Field is doing 5,000 shots a day. Oakland County government can do 20,000 shots a week and has gotten 22,000 doses the last like 4 weeks. The private hospital systems are getting about the same amount of shots as the Oakland County government. So you times 22,000 times 5, because there's 5 hospital systems, is 100,000 shots, right? Oakland County is really doing good at putting shots in arms based on the supply we have. So Sandy, just to empathize with you, like from a community perspective, this is a great thing to see, right? I mean, just think back to January when everybody, there was 1 million of us trying to get 1,500 shots. Now there's 200,000 of us trying to get 100,000 shots. So that's one, just to say things are better now. They're really not as good as they should be. And so then to just go specifically to what you're saying, Sandy, that sucks. And it's terrible. And the worst part is not knowing, right? You don't know when it's going to happen, right? So everyone here, I don't know if everyone else has gotten their shot, but right, the 3 months you were waiting, you went, this is terrible. I'm pulling my hair out, this is the worst thing. But then the minute after you got your shot, everything felt better. So to help give you some of that feeling, Sandy, there's Kroger, there's Rite Aid, there's CVS, there's the 5 hospital systems, there's OakGov, there's Ford Field. And Sandy, I'm going to put my number in the chat. You and I can talk. You can call or text me and we can talk about this. And also anyone else who hasn't gotten a shot, because as I've said to all of us before, Oakland County and all the other people that have been giving doses have kind of been building the plane as they fly it. But now it looks as though we're almost putting the finishing rivets on the ailerons of the plane, right? We're almost done building it while we're flying it. So I'll put my number in the chat, but is there anyone else or any other more specific questions I can answer other than just, we need more vaccine? Because I agree wholeheartedly. Because I haven't gotten my shot yet, by the way. Because also I'm 30, so I don't,
I already got mine because I'm an essential worker, so they got me in there sooner. Being essential, you are more prone to the front line than anybody else. She's not. But I would think that once you're registered with Save My Spot or the 1,700 places that she's already registered herself with, CVS has nothing available right now. We've already checked. Ford Field, I hate to repeat myself, has nothing available. We called just yesterday just to get on there. The nurses will tell you the exact same thing. There are no appointments. As soon as you register yourself, doesn't that put you in line to get set up for the appointment? Does that not do that?
So great question. I'm looking up a number real quick that
Sandy, you need to contact the Vaccine Angel on Facebook.
So Sandy, to what you were asking about the algorithm, Peter, you asked that too. Sorry for not answering that. So the algorithm, at least the way it's done with Oakland County government, which mind you, our Save Our Spot had 600,000 people on its list, and it's now down to 238,000 because those people either got vaccinated through OakGov or they said, remove my spot. Thanks actually to the mayor and your guys' advocacy saying, how do we remove our spot? So that means that many people have found a shot. So we're now down to less than half of what peak was in terms of demand for who wants the shot. And the way that website works for everybody is that for those 238,000 people, let's say there are 238 shots available. They'll go to number 1, they'll go to number 1001, number 2001, number 3001, 4001, 5001, and they pick in those sorts of different categories. And then they'll go back around and go to number 2, number 1002, number 2002. And so that's how also, if any of you had this happen where your neighbor signed up, 2 weeks ago, and you signed up in January, it's because you were number 897 and they were number 2002. So that's how they do it to make it more fair so that it's not so much a first come, first serve.
I didn't know
So
that.
that might be some of what you're feeling is
Ah.
thinking, well, I'm not, I was really on top of it and paid attention and did all the things I'm supposed to do. I'm a good neighbor and community member and I got left behind. So that's part of that reasoning is.
That's the
maybe-
first time that I heard that.
Oh, okay.
That
Yep.
it's not first come, first served on purpose.
Yep.
To make it more fair so that somebody who has a daughter-in-law who's good on the computer, doesn't get in before just the guy down the street who called the nurse. I did, first time I heard that.
Yep. And I can also put a number in the chat that was really helpful for me when I was talking to try and find these answers. Because also we get an email update once, maybe twice a week. But other than that, I have to bother people all the time. And it's really disappointing because, having to call the health director to ask what we're doing with the vaccine feels not sustainable. But to that end, one of the numbers that they gave, and I'll put in the chat, is to the Michigan coronavirus sign up. So it's for the entire state, and they're also helping administer the Ford Field stuff. So this may be a really helpful thing for everyone, because especially if you're thinking of not wanting to do it via text, because it's a very passive way to do it. But if you want to really talk to somebody, that's something I wanted, was to get all the questions answered, questions that y'all have. I'll put the number in the chat. It's an 888 number. And if anyone has something like what you're saying, Sandy, please do call or text me. And also I'll put my email in there if you'd rather email, but I want to talk to you about why you haven't gotten your shot yet, because OakGov is focusing on 65 and up. So if you're 65 and up, like I'm at the end of the line right now for them. So there should not be a really good reason why you're not soon to get your shot if you haven't yet, if you're 65 and up. And if you're not, I mean, again, Ford Field's going to do 250,000 shots this month. So
It's looking up.
Again,
Kudos to Kerry Gustafson, who was vaccinated at Oak Park Community Center on Wednesday. It was fantastic, he said. Go Kerry. I want to hear more of those. That's great.
And we want Sandy's wife to get vaccinated. So let's try and make that happen.
We're
Yes.
trying. I'm trying to get her in. I just can't get her in.
she'll be our goal
Call me.
next month.
Call
She
me.
better be vaccinated. She's the new Pat.
The
No,
next,
it's just that it's supposed to be there, but you can't get in.
wow.
Sandy, I'll get her in. Tell her to be ready on Wednesday or Monday. I'll be at Fort Field on Monday and Oak Park in the morning, Wednesday.
Ask her tomorrow. She's not going on Fort Field. Good luck at Fort Field. You can't get in there either. I don't mean to be so pessimistic about it, but we've been trying and trying and trying. And she want to know why how come I got in? That's because I'm an essential worker.
Ziggy will cheat you in the line.
Do what?
You're
Ziggy
not
will
supposed to
push
say
you
that
through
out
the
loud,
line.
Lester.
Zig is going to get you in.
I'll get her in, Sandy. You watch. Just have her be ready to come.
I'll get her ready to come.
Yeah. Monday at Fort Field, Wednesday at Oak Park Center, Community Center in the morning. I'll be there.
Or call me, Sandy. You can also do that. I put my number in the chat.
Charlie, thank you so very much for the information. I appreciate it.
Well, this is one of those things. This is a moment, right, where America can really remind us. I don't know if any of you have traveled a lot. I mean, not in the last year, but I used to travel a lot because I worked in like India and East Africa for community development stuff. And so it just tickled me to death to go to all these different countries, and the people I would meet would say, "Oh, let me see your American passport." And I would show it to them. And on the last page, I don't know if you all have looked at your passport lately, but we have the frickin' moon. We have an eagle landing on the moon on our passport. And the United States of America is the only place that has that. And, I don't mean to get all, USA #1, but like, we can do stuff. We landed on the moon. We're the only people that have done that. We won World War II, right? That happened here. This is our opportunity as a country and a community to say, America's still got it. So Sandy, you not being able to have your wife get a shot is like, that hurts, that hurts the flag. That hurts America. That hurts us.
Right. Make America great again.
Oh,
no. Sorry. Wrong slogan.
Peter.
That guy.
So, if there are no further questions for the mayor, we can say that we've planned a second cleanup day for Sunday, April 18th. 1 o'clock, we're going to plan on meeting at the Sherman Pocket Park as a central location and work on tidying up some of 9 Mile. So it would be great if people are interested in joining us. We have donated goods and bags and grabbers from Ace Hardware.
What time are you meeting?
1 o'clock.
You know what? I don't mean to put it kibosh. I want to add something to that. We're talking about this cleanup. I got to get a camera because the overpass by our place over here I keep on saying Woodward, Roanoke and 10. This overpass is getting hit again. I don't know by who. I don't know when they're there. I know that I've been there with Ziggy and our entire area just finished cleaning that thing up. It's getting hit. It was only the second day. How can we get a camera? What can we do as a city? I don't care what happens. That overpass is getting hit the second day it's cleaned up. And I came by when it was clean, and all of a sudden now we're getting trash all over again. And it's someone's dropping it off. It has to be. The same place, same time, and I'll bet I catch the car. We gotta get a camera. I know you don't know, Jeff. I'm just frustrated over it. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, part of me doesn't even know if that's our city's property too, right? Like, it's tough because it's like the highways there. I wish people just wouldn't litter. It's so dumb. Like,
It is.
like, don't litter. It's dumb. That's the message.
That's not city property.
But
That's county road commission.
so maybe if we had goats that could come and eat everything.
There is a creative idea.
The sunflowers, though, Marion. So 1 o'clock on the 18th, we're going to try to clean up some of 9 Mile and then maybe plan another day after that. I have confirmation from Ferndale Rat Patrol to join us next month to talk about rat maintenance.
Great.
We don't get them.
Exciting, I suppose. Any other announcements, questions, concerns?
The rats make a nice stew.
If that's your thing.
No. How do you know, Charlie?
Squirrels do.
Tell that to Sam.
Squirrel's just a rat with a fancier costume. Or something like Sex in the City that like always resonates in my head. Like, so.
Rat with a fur coat.
Right.
I have something to say, if that's okay. Yeah, I got a letter from Sam about the water lawsuit, the class action settlement lawsuit, Sam. And I just wanted to say I really appreciated that. You're like a person of principle. Like, I respect the hell out.
Oh,
So,
you're right.
yeah, good for you.
Sam refused the payment.
Yeah, way to think about the community.
Wow, that's astounding. That's really very generous, and we appreciate that ever so much.
Well,
Thank
the
you for
point-
bringing that up, Charlie.
Well, the point is that our governments are kowtowing and just backing off of the fight with the tort attorneys. This is the second one. For those of you who don't know what's being talked about, this was the second class action suit wherein rather than fighting it to the bitter end, the thinking was, let's just capitulate and pay the tort lawyers to go away because it could end up worse for us if we take this to court. The first had to do with the Coon drain and the assessment, and everybody knows about that. But this one had to do with the flood of 2014, and lawsuits were filed against multiple communities about their negligence. And rather than the communities fighting it off, they capitulated, and I just think it's a never-ending cycle where we're feeding the tort attorneys to make sure they have nice swimming pools.
The only thing is to change the legislation, as far as my understanding is.
Where's Virginia?
Well, it seems to me that as our mayor, you are part of a consortium of mayors that then can battle with legislature. Lobby. It's not, my letter is of very little value. I'm hoping that something can come from that would be helpful down the road, because we just keep feeding tort attorneys.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to give kudos to you, Sam, for that, and thank you for adding context. But the second thing I wanted to say real quick, and then I'll mute myself. But there is a rental and utility assistance program that is live. I know that's a thing that if you or someone you know has a need of that, that is only going to grow. As the mayor was talking and someone was asking about like apartments, I know from my day job is I work at Habitat for Humanity. They said that in 2019, Oak Park had 5 homes that were on the foreclosure list for Oakland County. And this year there are 140 additional homes. So there are people struggling. There won't be foreclosures this year, thanks to our treasurer. We all know who that is. And there won't be any foreclosures, but rental and utility assistance is a need. So I have a phone number and I can put it in the chat for everybody. And they have like $50 million to spend in Oakland County, which is a lot of money. And it's live.
Wow.
That's great.
Wow.
Where's that money coming from, Charlie?
It's a conglomerate of state dollars, federal COVID 1.0 relief, and a COVID relief bill from the federal government that is not the COVID relief 1.0 or the what people are now calling the COVID 2.0 Biden bucks. It's a thing that came out in between.
Okay,
So
I thought
federal.
we were talking about Sam was talking about the water and the flood that came back up, and FEMA was absolutely of no use. I talked to FEMA. We didn't even come close to being available for that. It was impossible to get money out of that from that flood. We did not qualify. There was no flood. I'm sorry.
Damn.
Yep. Nothing, absolutely nothing available. We talked to FEMA, went to the center, had that home meeting. I don't mean to go backwards, but as soon as you start talking about money that was available, we had a huge loss. We did not qualify. Huntington Woods was even worse. There was no money available. FEMA said, nope, you don't qualify. And that was the end of that.
Yeah. Yep. I remember hearing a story about that, just to say that there was a family that had like 6 or 7 kids. And so some of the kids were living in right there in a 2-bedroom ranch style house. And so some of the kids were living on mattresses in the basement with, dividers. So without a flooded basement, that's not that big of a deal because 6-year-olds are 6-year-olds. They'll sleep anywhere. But with a flooded basement, you have 8 people sleeping upstairs in a 2-bedroom house. And I've heard horror stories of those folks not qualifying for stuff either. So I hear you. That's terrible. But this money is good money, and you can qualify. And you call the number, and they'll say, how much do you want? As long as you didn't owe money before COVID.
That's great. Well, thank you, Charlie, Mayor Marion, Jamie, Tom, for joining us tonight and answering questions and being here. Thank you to everyone else for showing up. It's always a pleasure. And check out the chat if you need resources. We'll get that out to everyone via email too. And we'll hopefully get this meeting up on Facebook and YouTube for perusal, or if you need entertainment and just want to watch it again and again.
We say congratulations to Peter on his book.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, you know what? That should go in the mayor's message.
You gonna say anything, Peter? You're on mute.
Yeah, the 3 most famous words in the past year are not "I love you," it's "you're on mute."
Here, I'm putting in case people don't know what we're talking about. I wrote a novel called Summer on Fire, a Detroit novel. It's set in 7 weeks in the summer of 1967. So it takes in the Detroit uprising, but also lots of other things as well. And it's almost sold out. It's almost gone.
Wow.
Carrie Lauren, who runs the wonderful Book Beat at the Greenfield Shopping Center, said he's never seen a book generate that many sales. I mean, I'm just gobsmacked. I mean, it never occurred to me that anybody other than a few circle of friends would like it. But it's the first printing is almost gone. So end of my commercial. Thank you, whoever brought it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, Sandy, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, folks. Good night. I'm out.
Okay.
Night.
Good night, everyone. We'll
Good
see you.
night.
Peace out.
Thanks for coming. Stay well.
All right, I'm gonna pause.